All right, welcome everybody to our 2021 annual meeting. Really glad you're able to be here. Zoom and all. This is my 5th hour of Zooming today, so and Jane as well, but it's good. So let's call the meeting to order. And we can declare a quorum. We have 36 screens, and many are 2 people in the screen. So we have 7. So we have about 42 people, Joyce. So I think we have a quorum. We just need more. We need at least double the vestry. So
yeah.
Okay, let's start with an opening prayer from the Book of Common Prayer. And this is for a church convention or meeting. So let us pray. Almighty and ever-living God, source of all wisdom and understanding, be present with those who take counsel in the church for the renewal and mission of your holy church. Teach us in all things to seek first your honor and glory. Guide us to perceive what is right, and grant us both the courage to pursue it and the grace to accomplish it through Christ our Lord. Amen. So I'm going to do our traditional video. It's like 5 minutes. So if you need to get up and get something to drink while the video's on, you can do that. This is your only break in this meeting. I think the video captures everything we've done this year. And so it's probably the best summary of everything we've done. Let me see if I can do that efficiently. Can everybody see Martha at the table?
Yep.
Okay, here we go.
Yep.
Let us build a house where love can dwell and all can safely live. A place where saints and children tell how hearts learn to forgive. Built of hopes and dreams and visions, rock of faith and vault of grace. Here the love of Christ shall end divisions. All are welcome, all are welcome, all are welcome in this place. Let us build a house where prophets speak and words are strong and true. Symbol of God's grace. Here is one we claim the faith of Jesus. All are welcome, all are welcome, all are welcome in this place. Let us build a house where love is found in water, wine, and wheat. A banquet hall on holy ground where peace and justice meet. Here the love of God through Jesus is revealed in time and space. As we share in Christ the feast that frees us, all are welcome, all are welcome, all are welcome in this place. Let us build a house where hands will reach beyond the wood and stone, to heal and strengthen, serve and teach, and live the word they've known. Here the outcast and the stranger bears the image of God's face. Let us bring an end to fear and danger. All are welcome, all are welcome, all are welcome in
So you can see we actually did a lot given the crazy year that we have. So that video will be on our Facebook page later tonight and also on YouTube if you want to watch it again. It's a little sentimental, to be honest. Like when I'm putting these pictures together, you're like, damn, we did a lot and I really miss everybody. Like the last pancake supper was like a feast. And then all the baptisms and the different, even like seeing Derek and Danielle, we just haven't seen everybody in a normal way. So I think the video is, it's great to see. So, despite the fact that we keep saying, the building was closed, but the church was really open this year, we did a lot to keep things going. So really proud of all our hard work together. So let's see, accept the minutes from January 26th. Does everyone have a copy? Anyone need a copy of the report? I can email it to you if you don't have it. Everybody's good. So this is where we can use people to unmute. Do we have someone that'll make a motion to accept the minutes from January 26th? And you can just unmute yourself.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes from January 26th.
Okay, so that was Bob Sestonis. Joyce, do we have a second?
Second.
A second.
Second. All in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? Okay, so the minutes are all set. The nomination committee and nominations for the call for further nominations. So pull this out. So Jane, do you want to read the slate or do you want me to do that?
I mean, I can read it.
Yeah, why don't you do the slate for the nominations?
So the slate is senior warden, myself, junior warden, Bob Newton, treasurer for 1 year, Ruby Cox, clerk for 1 year, Joyce Witham. Our 3 new vestry members are Erica Palm, Jill Silva, and Rob Weber. Our 2 delegates to the Diocesan Convention are Robert Christian and John Parsons. And our delegates to the Mystic Valley Deanery for 1 year are Ruby Cox and Sharon Lopes. And the nominating committee was myself, Pete Gorman, Ruby Cox, Joyce Witham, and Brian.
Okay, so do we have a motion to accept the slate of nominations? If you want to unmute yourself to.
Well, if no one else will, I'll do it then.
Thanks, Bob. You're good at this. And Peter, do you want a second? It might make it
Sure.
easier.
You
It
got
might
me.
make it easier. Bob and Peter do all this. Make it easier for Joyce.
We're in charge here. Okay, yep. We have the power. Yep.
All in favor? Raise your hand. Any
Aye.
opposed? Any abstentions? Excellent. Well, welcome, Erica, Jill, and Rob. We're looking forward to your work with us this year. And let's see. Thank you to Robert Christian. So Robert's still going to help do some of our faith formation. And then Sumi is off the vestry this year. And then Joyce is leaving vestry, but she became the clerk. So she hasn't gone too far. So thank you for that. Let's see. Parish reports review. We'll go through these kind of easily. So my report's in the annual report. What's really interesting? I was ordained 25 years on June 24th. That's the nativity of John the Baptist. So I always related to John the Baptist because he gets his head cut off for speaking his mind. So I always kind of identify with that. But I had these great hopes of really celebrating this fun liturgy with all my musician friends and doing this big festive coffee hour after, like Ted and Nancy did at their 50th anniversary. And then the coronavirus just killed all that. And so it was actually really nice. We did a Wednesday night Zoom meeting and it was just a little group. And I thought that's really appropriate as well, to do something simple. And our parish celebrated 100 years of incorporation on the 21st of June this year. And so we had the auction was kind of in memory of that. You celebrated a centennial a few years ago when the church first gathered, but the actual official incorporation with the paperwork is the 21st. So that was my report. Pete, do you want to unmute yourself and anything you want to add?
I don't really need to add anything other than
I've been so blessed for 5 years continuing to be here. And I don't think I'm going to leave.
Nope, we don't want you to leave either, so.
The leg irons on you won't let you leave anyway, so it's okay.
Okay, excellent. Jane, do you have anything you want to add?
No, my report's there as well. I mean, it's certainly been a challenging year, but we've gotten through it and we've stayed strong and we've been able to carry on with a lot of things. And I thank everybody for sharing their energies and time and talent and staying with us. We'll get through this hopefully sooner than later, and we'll all be back together again. And I look forward to that. So, and thank you to Sumi and Rob too for your serving on the vestry for the last 3 years, and welcome Joyce as clerk. We really appreciate your time and helping out with the vestry, and welcome to our new members as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Jane. Bob Newton, you're somewhere. There you are. Do you have anything you want to add, Bob?
Just like to mention that we will be reactivating the property committee in the early spring to develop plans for this year's property challenges, whatever. So if you're interested in participating, please contact me. And just thanks again to Martha, Elaine, Jim, Mark, Manzelli, of course. We had a few hiccups along the way, but everything has been repaired and we're marching forward. So it's been a great year. Thank you.
And as you know, Bob Newton does a lot behind the scenes, from wiring and managing all these people to, we're trying to be a little more proactive about the building. So there's some, we're trying to stay on top of any deferred maintenance and stay on top of those things, because it's cheaper to address it ahead of time than to react when it's too late. So we've been really good about that. Thank you, Bob. Stewardship Committee report. If there's anyone on the committee that wants to add any more information. So we're on target. Right now we're at 90 pledges. We have 11 potential pledges. These are folks that typically pledge and just haven't yet. So we assume they'll probably pledge. We're actually ahead of last year's pledge. Last year, total pledges were 161,902. And right now we're at 171,735. So that's pretty amazing in a pandemic. We're actually ahead of last year for pledging. So that's been, we've been very fortunate that way. Let's see, Ruby, do you have anything to add to the, we'll look at the finances in a few minutes.
Yes.
You're at the end. We'll put you at the end.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Liturgy reports. This is a great year for baptism. So get to baptize Isla Angelini, which is really fun. And having done Scarlet, I've been here long enough now. Like, it's nice to get the second child, just like Ryan. You know, we had Noah and then Grace, the Bandies, Connor Edge, then Anya Krishnan. They're kind of outside the group. He's Hindu and she's Christian, and they were looking for a place that would be open to kind of combining the two beliefs in one ritual. So we did kind of a Hindu Christian baptism. So I'm not sure what that is, but it worked out really well. So we're happy with that. Let's see. So I did Casey and Paul Comboyd's wedding. Peter's here. That was a really fun, that was supposed to be a wedding here at St. Paul's in Newburyport. And they were being really careful with the pandemic, but Paul's grandfather's older, so he's being really respectful of his family and decided not to gather everybody, which for me was a great testament to their marriage. They put their family first before ceremony and dinners and all that stuff. So Peter, you did a good job with Paul, as you know, and Casey's pretty amazing. And Lauren and I get to go to Nantucket to do the wedding. So it wasn't exactly a hardship on us. They put us up at the White Elephant and we did the wedding out on the beach. So it was pretty nice. And then burials. It was a tough, really tough year in the beginning. I was doing these funerals out on the graveside. You couldn't do church funerals. And you could only have 10 people. And that was really, that was probably the hardest part of the year for me. We buried Bob Briganti. He was the last funeral in the church. And that was right in the beginning of the pandemic. And Bob and Barbara's daughter came from the West Coast, and we were nervous about that. We didn't really understand things, but he was the first one. And then Jerry Shagnon died, who we all loved. You know, she was the lector. That was a tough funeral because only 10 people could gather outside. And Jerry and I planned her whole funeral when she was at the hospital. She had all the music picked, all the readings. She was going to pay for Chinese food for all of us at the food reception afterwards. Like, it was going to be awesome. She was really like excited about her funeral, which sounds strange, but she did great planning. And then that all came to a halt. Ed Chandler had a terrible accident, as you know. He died going up north in a car accident. Fred Goodwin. Bob Janine, he is a character, as you all know. And so that was a big loss. I think he went kind of kicking and screaming. Marie Field is a saint, and so is Joe. And Joe, we're going to have you give us a joke at the end to kind of warm us up. But Marie is really taking good care of Scott and Linda. So thank you, Marie and Joe, and everybody else that supported them. I think that made a difference. Alan Nickerson, John Parr, that's Mary Parr's husband. Some of you may remember John. George Perry, John Scully was a horrible loss. Jen Scully, I still keep in touch with quite a bit. They came Christmas Eve with the two girls. That was his last time in church, and then he died in January. And I remember almost like giving them communion as a family, knowing it was the last time they'd be in church together. Like that stuff, it's very meaningful as a priest, but it's really like heart-wrenching. And Jen's been amazing. And then Francine Spada, she was one of our first COVID folks, young grandmother. That's Dominic's grandmother, the little kid that does the pageant. His grandmother died of COVID. And that was a tough funeral too. We were outdoors and they couldn't have everybody that they wanted. Let's see. Music director's report. Alice has another meeting tonight. So the choir is suspended. We really can't have, we have to really limit any kind of singing. Alice does meet with the choir, like they have Zoom meetings, they watch hockey games, they've been trying to stay together. I do appreciate Alice continuing to do music on Sunday. I think the way we've done our service has been a way to keep everyone connected, and it feels like normal as much as it can be. So I thank her for that. Marie, do you have anything to add to the liturgy report? Oh, you have to unmute yourself, Marie, sorry. There you go.
No, I don't really have anything to add. I want to thank all those who volunteered to be lectors, whether you do it from in the church or from pre-recorded. And I'm looking forward to when we can all back to our usual lectors and Eucharistic ministers.
Great, thanks, Marie.
Nice.
So as you've seen, we're really been trying to commit to whether you're in church or you're at home, if you want a lecture, we can record so that you can do the video, or if you're in church to read, you can do that. So if people are not comfortable coming, they can still exercise their ministry. The church is functionally closed, but not actually closed. So we have a little remnant that does come on Sundays. Anyone is welcome to come. We've asked people not to come as the first preference to watch, you know, the YouTube for safety reasons, but we do have a small group. People sit pretty far apart. And the way the procedure is, you come in, you sit, and then you don't get up until the end. So they don't come forward to communion, the few people that are there. We're doing like the Catholic Church, you receive as you depart. And that's kept people from socializing, and it's kept us distant from each other. So that seemed to be working out okay. Ushers, we've suspended the usher ministry because there's really no one to usher. Let's see. Altar Guild. Ruby, do you want to say anything about Altar Guild?
Well, as I indicated in the report, that due to the circumstances of the virus, we've suspended the personnel from coming in. You and Pete have taken over the Altar Guild duties, and you've done an admirable job for us all. And we appreciate that very much. And we look forward to coming back soon and hopefully, you know, relieve you of some of your burdensome duties now.
So you want to hear a confession?
No.
So the altar guild, each week they'd wash the linens, like the purificator and the corporal. And because Pete and I are doing it, it's about every 2 months that we wash it because we don't want to iron. So we definitely miss the altar guild. Leslie McGovern, do you have anything to add to flowers? I thought I saw Leslie somewhere.
Okay, not
There you
really,
are.
just thank you to everybody who donates for flowers and everybody who helps deliver flowers, and especially the angels at Easter and Christmas. You guys are terrific, thanks.
Thanks, Leslie. This year especially, we got so much feedback from some of the older members that got a poinsettia at Christmas. You don't realize how much that means to people. Just having a little bit of acknowledgement that their church hasn't forgotten them. And so that flower ministry is really important. And so as you can see in the report, those are 2 ways to do memorials. You can do more than one person for flowers. We just do a bigger arrangement and then we distribute the flowers. And the sanctuary lamp, that's the lamp that's lit near the umbry or the tabernacle. And you can dedicate that as well. So there's lots of opportunities. If you notice in the report this year, pastoral care, that's usually Bill Webb's department. So this year it's only a couple sentences. Bill has really slowed down. It's not really able to do much with the pastoral care anymore. We've been trying to reach out. We're not really allowed to do much hospital visiting or parishioner home visiting, but hopefully that'll begin to change. Christian education report. I think Christian is here too. Let's see. Christian, do you want to add anything to your report? It was really great.
No, I don't have anything to add. That's all there.
So Christian has been doing some like lessons with the kids. So some of it's like a Zoom, and then other of it she prepares like online things that sends out to people's homes. So how's that been going, Christian, overall? You people participating a little bit?
Well, this Sunday I'm doing a live Zoom with the kids, so we're going to do a live lesson. But so I'm going to gauge and see how if they're watching the videos, because I don't know, because there's no way like to tell if they watch it or not, and I haven't gotten any feedback from the families. But yeah, it's been going well, I guess.
So Sunday school has been a real problem with most of the churches because all we can do is Zoom, and the kids are so zoomed out all week that the last thing they want to do is one more Zoom meeting on Sunday. Our two new vestry members, Erica and Jill, both have kids in that kind of middle age range. So we're going to try to focus on connecting with them this year. That's a group we tend to lose if they're not in Sunday school. We don't really see them until they're a little bit later. So that's our hope. Next up, Peter Gorman, Communications and Tech. This report got longer this year.
Yeah, not a whole lot of communications activities going on in terms of events, and like, you know, typically we do the Reading Fall Fest, the festival, but a lot of activities in terms of you know, some of the new technology that we've been implementing in the church to bring you the Sunday services and other things. So Brian, I'm actually going to pass this one over to you to talk about the Tech Guild.
Sure. So Tech Guild's like a new term. All these churches now have tech people, so we had to come up with a name. So in the very beginning, it was basically Lauren and I. Lauren would take my iPhone and put it on a tripod, and that's how we came to you live on Facebook. And then we thought it would only be a couple months. And then once we realized we were in it for the long haul, the vestry decided to commit to some finances, and we got a $5,000 grant from the diocese, which was helpful. We spent about $10,000 doing the equipment. So we have when you come back to church, you'll see a camera that's mounted up on the beam in the church. It's called a PZT camera, pivot, zoom, and tilt. And that can be controlled from an iPad and a little keyboard. And so Lauren's been doing the bulk of that. Peter's been helping, and then Joyce and her kids have been able to do it. And so anyone that wants to do some of the tech down the road, especially some of the youth, it's a great way to teach them about the service because we put numbers, right? So once the readings start, the camera's number 2. So they actually have to follow the bulletin and match the shot and line it up. So it's actually Sunday school and they don't know they're doing Sunday school. So it's been kind of a cool way to do it. We had to rewire the church and bring in hard wiring because when you do wireless, a lot of people have all these glitches with the camera links. So we are hardwired. We have a monitor in the church. And we're going to permanently do this. I think a lot of churches, we have a lot more people who can come to church now. And so one thing I realized, we kind of know it's true, but the whole world can't come on Sunday morning at 10. And so there's a whole other world out there that people have another obligation, or we have a number of nurses that work on Sunday morning and a number of young people, they watch it during the week. So we have folks like 10 o'clock on Sunday night or on Wednesday that'll listen to the sermon. That's why it's posted on Facebook so people can access it whenever. And then it's also live. Lauren, do you have anything to add? Oh, Peter?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Brian. I was just going to say, in addition to, having the services available to people who can't come to the services on that day, what's also nice is that we've found that people are attending on Sundays that are out of state, like a grandmother who's out of state or whatnot. So it's nice to expand our community.
And we're also on cable TV. So we're on Reading Cable TV, North Reading, and Wilmington. And so like Ed Clogston watches the Wilmington station, and he is so, remember Ed, he's kind of older and sings a bit. He's so happy he can have church on Sunday. And then, Bill Webb watches the Reading station, and then we have people in North Reading. So that's been a big help. Lauren, do you have anything to add? You've been doing the bulk of the Tech Guild.
Yes. First of all, I want to thank Peter and Joyce, Nick and Audrey for assisting with the audio and video. It was definitely a challenge to start. Being a musician and performer, I'm usually in front of the camera, not behind the camera. So I have a definitely newfound appreciation for that skill set. And just to add to Peter's comment about like outreach with the new live streaming and so forth. For example, my family now has been able to attend church on Sundays, so they're regular attendees of service. So it's just been very, very well received, including even like live streaming Brian and I's our concerts. I couldn't believe how many people watched it, and if we didn't have this technology, we wouldn't have been able to do this. So I think it's a real blessing that we have that now. But I appreciate everyone tuning in and being so supportive.
Well, and thank you for being such a great teacher, Lauren.
Yep, it's done a good job.
Okay, well, I have good pupils. Thanks.
We've learned a number of uses with this too. Like during COVID, we had a really large funeral that people couldn't come. And so we did live stream the funeral, which sounds a little odd at first, but then, when you're President George Bush, his funeral was live streamed, and everyone else, all these big people have their funerals shown to the world. So why not all of us? And we had like 150 people watching the funeral. So all their friends could attend. We have a baptism we're working on. These two guys adopted this baby. He's from the Philippines and the other one's from the West Coast. So we have crazy time zones. So the only way to get all the family together is to do it live stream at one time. And so everybody can watch and be part of it. So it's been, we've learned a whole lot over these past months. Okay, Martha, Bargain Box.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have anything to add to my report other than to say I miss it more than words can say. And each Wednesday when I'm down there, I realize how much I miss the people that are coming in, all of our regulars. And I'm hoping that when we are finally able to reopen, that I'll see a lot of familiar faces. And I know that all of my workers miss seeing their regulars too, because everybody just begins to know the people the regulars that come in, say, for instance, every Friday morning. So that's all I can say. I look forward to it reopening. We're working hard to make it virtual, but it's taking a while to do it. So suffice it to say that's coming soon. It's not really in actuality just yet, but it will have to suffice until the real thing comes along.
Yeah, well, thank you for sticking it out, Martha. These are the times when it's easy just to say, forget it. And that's when we really need people to continue committing. So good job. So we are going to try to go virtual with the Bargain Box. And I've had a little greater appreciation as well for the Bargain Box twofold, like the clientele that we serve. There is a poor community even within Reading and the surrounding area that's a little bit of their lifeblood for clothes and other items. And then, not to be crass, but the Bargain Box is a big part of our budget. And so when you look at our budget, we've taken a few financial hits, and the Bargain Box, one of the larger ones, because there's just not the funds to contribute. And so they help support the community, and the Bargain Box helps support Good Shepherd. So makes a big difference. Tony, you have anything to add about Bread of Life? Oh, you got to unmute. There you go. Here we go.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to add that we missed participating physically with the serving of the meals, preparing of the meals. But our church has really gone farther with its funding, helping the Bread of Life with contribution donations to their building campaign. They're trying to build a new place, a bigger place to house actually some of these people. And the other thing is Sharon and I have taken a few things, my toiletry supplies that I used to hoard and sell at the fair. I'm now donating them. I'm almost through donating, but now I've taken up coin collecting, and Sharon blames me now for the coin shortage that everyone seems to be talking about. Anyways, we appreciate all the efforts that the church parishioners have made towards the Bread of Life. It's a great cause, and we should support it and continue to support it. And anxious to go back someday, yes.
Yep, definitely. Great, thanks, Tony. If you saw one of those pictures of me donating a cassock to Bread of Life, so when this all first started, they needed smocks and robes to serve the food. And we had all these old cassocks that we weren't using, so we donated a bunch of the old ones so they could. So you have all these Bread of Life volunteers wearing these church cassocks to hand out the food. So we were pretty creative. We raised $13,500 for the Bread of Life capital campaign. I think that's pretty incredible. And that started in honor of Ben Sands, and so people really stepped up. But that's not our only donations to Bread of Life. So when we did the virtual giving tree at Christmas, we were able to donate another $500 to Bread of Life. The money is good, but our time is even more important to them. And so eventually we'll go back to volunteering. I miss the community we had when we gathered there on those Friday nights and serving food. And then sneaking out with Tony and Sharon to get a burger after Bread of Life undercovers. We won't talk about that. Okay, let's see. Be Safe, which we've done for many years. They closed down the Chelsea site because of budget concerns. So we weren't really going to be that involved this summer. We've helped them financially. We're looking at new ways to support them. Dinah's House, we're still really active with. You saw one of those videos. Tony donated a bunch of stuff for Dinah's House. A number of people have. The Giving Tree, we were able to contribute $1,500 to Dinah's House. So I'm still in Haverhill quite a bit with that group. These are mostly single women, really impoverished, really in difficult situations. And so we've had some pretty amazing gifts. We had a maternity jacket that was donated, brand new, that went to a mother. Some of you donated some baby things. The Bargain Box donated some clothes and strollers. So that's been a big help. So our virtual giving tree was actually pretty successful. We raised a lot of money to give. We've helped about 12 families in need between the rector's discretionary account and other things that people gave. And even that, we learned new technologies. So my Venmo account now has 3 accounts. I have a personal account when I do Venmo, and then my discretionary account is on Venmo. So we can send money to different people that are helping folks really easily, rather than trying to get a check to them. So some people that are doing feeding programs, like Pete's daughter did a big feeding program. We're able to send some funds so she could go out and buy the groceries. So it's been another technology that's been good. Let's see, next, Parish Life. We have a really great group. Our Wednesdays at Good Shepherd. There's a number of us that meet every week. So if you're home and you want something to do, join us. We're going to try to do a few more presentations. This Lent, we're going to work with Emmanuel Church in Wakefield and St. Paul's in Linfield. So Stephanie Chase, the interim priest at Emmanuel, and then Rob Bacon and I, the 3 of us, we're going to do 3 sessions during Lent. And we're going to do it every other week. And you don't have to read the book, but Richard Rohr has a thing on the wisdom pattern, order, disorder, and reorder. So we're going to use that as a jumping off theme. You don't have to read the book to participate, but there'll be 3 sessions, and that'll be on those Wednesday nights. Let's see, the virtual Holiday Festival. Elaine can't be here tonight. She picking up her daughter, I think, at the airport. Elaine's amazing with the Fall Festival, as you all know, but so is everybody else that volunteered. We raised $12,800. So unfortunately, we've set these benchmarks that I don't know how we're going to beat it again next year, but we raised the most money. At the auction was its best, and the Fall Festival was its best. And we learned something at the Fall Festival. We put the baked goods online so you can buy them quickly and early. So we're going to do that again for those of you that like those sweets before you have to even get to the church. We were able to take orders, so people baked what we needed, so we didn't have anything left over. And Christy Tozlowski is incredible. She did a lot of baking and then donated all her crafts. So that was great. Elaine had the cleaning crew report. That's been kind of on hold for now. We won the Women's League of Voters door decorating contest. We had so many more votes than anybody else because we're online. It was it was almost not fair, but they were really glad that we did it. So
I have to say, Tim and I went and looked at the doors. It was the best door.
it was the best. Okay, thank you. That makes me feel better.
Modest, by far, it was the best door.
So the prize was a $100 gift certificate to any business in Reading. So we chose White Lamb Books, and then they separated the $100 into 5 $20 cards. So we'll be giving those out to youth that could use some books, underserved youth, and we'll buy some books and distribute those as well. So that seemed like a good option. Okay, now
And
for the thing.
Brian,
oh,
also
yep.
thank you, Erica, for her
Yes.
eye for the door. Beautifully done. Thank you.
Yep, good job, Erica. And
Sorry,
family.
it was also the flower shop in Reading did such a good job. They're so great.
Yep, so Rachel, who does our flowers on Sunday. So this year we spent a little more money on the doors, and it was a way to help support Rachel's business because it's really been struggling. So in a lot of ways it was, twofold. We could make the church look really festive for the community, and we're able to help Rachel out a little bit more than we normally do to keep her going. And so she's appreciated the flower business that we've continued, especially in the beginning of the pandemic. We were her only client for a while. And so it's
Yeah,
easy to
that's
say,
such a
why are you
great
doing flowers when no one's in church? But it made a difference to her and to everyone else. But thank you, Erica.
Yeah, anytime, love doing it.
Okay, now for the event we're all waiting for, the parish financial report. So Ruby's been serving as our treasurer, and that's been a big help. Ruby, I'll let you comment, and then I'll go through the financial report. One of the things that Ruby does, like the rector's discretionary account, when we did our audit, he suggested that someone neutral review that. So rather than the senior warden or the junior warden, so Ruby and I will look at the discretionary account, just so there's some accountability. it's very confidential because it goes to people in need and we don't want that out. But we do want financial transparency so that somebody is looking at the rector's account. And so Ruby's been, we've started doing that, and that's a really good check and balance. Ruby, do you have anything you want to talk about before I pull up the files on the, and you can stay unmuted.
I'd just like to thank Leah as our bookkeeper, who's done an
Yes.
excellent job providing the vestry with the reports every month, and Barbara and the financial committee, who have prepared budgets and fine-tuned them with the financial committee to keep us going in a robust manner, looking forward with a lot of positivity. And I want to thank the whole group for keeping an eye on business so that we can do more of God's business.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, Ruby. And yeah, Leah has been a godsend to us with all her bookkeeping help. That's been a huge help. And Leah's like all hours of the night. Like last night, we had a little discrepancy with one of the employees' salary. We're trying to get that figured out. So I emailed Leah at 11 o'clock at night. She emails back, I'll get this to you first thing in the morning. So we're very fortunate for all the work she puts in. So thank you, Leah. So Ruby, you can stay unmuted, and Jane, and I'll put up the financials, and if you have any comments, and anyone else on the Finance Council, Barbara, if you have anything you want to add, we can put that up. We won't go over every single thing, but let me put up the budget. So Ruby and Jane, can you see the budget?
Yes,
Does it need to be bigger, or is it okay?
it's okay.
Yeah,
Is that better?
Oh, much better.
yeah, much better.
We're all getting a little older.
Okay.
So
All
this report, oops, which you all have, so we have the budget for 2020, the actuals for 2020, and then the budget for 2021. And so the budget for the plate for 2020 was 10,000. We actually took in 9. We did pretty well. We've been mailing, folks. A lot of people have been mailing in financial support, even if they're not pledging. And if you notice, you know, the actuals for pledging last year was 164, and this year we're at 171. So we're budgeting, I think we're at 172 now. We're budgeting 170 because sometimes people are not able to fill a pledge or there's death. We want to be careful. Withdrawals from endowment, we take 4% as the diocese recommends. Fundraisers were really up this year, but we're trying to be a little conservative for next year. But then here are the places you can see where we took a hit, like the space use when we rent to overeaters. The budget for 2020 was 5,000. We took in $650, and next year they won't be back until we're open, so we've lost money there. And then the bargain box normally contributes about 9,000 in addition to everything else they do. They will give us about 2,000 last year. We're hoping for 2,500 if we reopen in the fall, but we'll see. And then the pandemic loan, we were able to get a pandemic loan for 24,000, which has been forgiven, so we don't need to pay that back. So that actually helped our income remain stable. The next expenses, these are all pretty much fixed. Clergy salaries, musician salaries, health insurance. Then we have utilities. Everything is pretty on budget. I'll open it up in a second to take questions. So we ended up with a net operating revenue of 15,000 this year. Right now, we have about a $4,000 deficit projected for next year. But as I said, there are some people that haven't pledged yet that we hope will pledge, and that'll make up for the deficits. I think we'll be okay with that. So why don't I open it up for questions about the budget, and then we'll look at the other financials. Anyone have any questions? Feel free to ask. If we could only mute everybody at the annual meeting every year, we get through these things really quick. It works really well. If you have a question, feel free to email if you look at it more closely. But we're in much better shape than like all the other churches in our deanery, especially the bigger churches. Most of them are cutting staff. you know, we're projecting a $4,000 deficit, but we had money left from last year because we did 15. So we have, as you'll see, we have money in the bank to take care of a small deficit. So we're not struggling. People at Good Shepherd are very, very generous. And if people struggle and they can't do a pledge this year, that's fine. That's when someone else does a little bit more and someone does a little bit less. And when you're in a position to do more, you know, it's a lot of give and take. And I think that's been a hallmark of what we do. The next, if you can't sleep, this next one will be perfect for you at night, like some of us. So this is the profit and loss statement. So the audit asked us to put in more files directly out of QuickBooks. Our budget that we had on the first page is really what we use. You know, this one's our really guiding document, but we do have the profit and loss if you want the real nuts and bolts of everything that's in there in a little more detail. You know, like what we took in for Bread of Life, Rector's discretionary, what we spent on altar flowers and candles. So you can take a look at that. And if you have questions, let me know. And then Leah normally creates the balance sheet. This year, we were asked to do it right out of QuickBooks. So at the close of the year, we had about 92,000 in the operating account, 6,000 in the Rector's account, and the bargain box still is about 4,500. The DIT endowment has about 500,000 in it. Curtis account, 28,000. The church is worth, I mean, that's a number. We couldn't build the church for $1 million, trust me, but we have our total assets. So this is a report we haven't normally put in, but with the audit, we've done that this year. And let's see. The last one that you can look at too is our DIT. So we have two endowments. The one that's in the Diocesan Investment Trust, and then we also have the Curtis Fund. So the endowment, and Leah, if you want to unmute and speak to this, feel free. It tanked for a while and then it got better. And so what we did was when the stock market crashed, we didn't take our endowment draw. So we take 4% a year and break it up. And when the market went down, we didn't take the draw because we had enough cash flow. And then when the market went back up, that's when we took our draw. So we're trying to be careful. We have a really active finance council. If any of the finance members want to add anything, you know, to what we're doing, feel free to speak up. So we have a healthy operating budget right now that kind of comes and goes, the payroll, but I know if you talk to Jane, you know, years ago, you were deciding what bills to pay and had to decide who to pay and who not to pay. But right now we're in a stronger position that way. Financially, we're in pretty good shape.
Brian, what are the endowment covenants?
So the DIT endowment, we can use that however we want. The philosophy with that, though, is to take a 4% draw. The Curtis Fund has to remain at 25,000, but anything above 25,000 we can take. And so I've been a little more aggressive taking it every time it's over 25,000 because the market's up, we might as well grab it because when it goes back down, there's nothing to take. So we talked about last year, there's a need to replace the piano at some point. So we've started putting some money away to prepare for that a little bit. So those are our two main endowments. Some people have donated to the endowment, but we haven't had, I think financially, one thing we need to look at down the road is a planned giving program at the church. It's funny, for an Episcopal church, since I've been here, we haven't received a single bequest from any family. And we've had some pillars of the church that have died. And not that we're looking for someone's estate, but I'm talking not even like $500. So it would be good to talk about that when people do their estate planning. They don't have to leave everything, but it's nice to leave something in memory or towards the endowment. The churches that are not afraid to talk about that are the ones that do pretty well down the road, but it's sensitive. You know, it's about estate planning. No one's looking to take money from your kids. But some of the bigger, like we have an endowment because of the sale of the rectory, and then people have donated in the past. Jane, do you have any comments on that?
I don't think so. I think you covered it.
Well, when I update my estate plan, there will be something left for when I depart.
Thanks, Rob. That's why you're on the vestry. You're on the vestry, Rob. You're setting the pace for the rest of us.
Yeah, we'll get you on this.
You know, it's one of those things that's not easy to talk about, but it's worth, even
It's
funeral
very
planning,
difficult. It's very
like,
difficult to talk about.
it's really tough to talk about. It's a sensitive issue. Even funeral planning, I planned some funerals with parishioners that have things that they really want when they die. And so if those are conversations you want to have down the road, it's like, I'm perfectly comfortable talking about those things. I keep notes. I have homilies written for some people already. They tell these great stories that you have to capture forever. But like Jerry Shagnon, it was one of the most moving things sitting with her talking about her funeral. She had readings and poems and music that she wanted and her Chinese food luncheon. It was good for her, and it was good for me and good for the church. She's not afraid to talk about death. Because that's a lot of what we're about, as we all know, as a church. And then the financial planning, I do a lot of fundraising. Usually everyone thinks you should talk to older people about it, but you really need to talk to younger people. Because when people get married, they change their will. And that's really the time when people have a life change, that's really the time to talk about, do you do a gift? It's like in our will, 3% goes to whatever church I'm serving. So if I die a good shepherd, you get 3%, but there's a way to do a little bit just to give back. Any other questions about the finances? We are in amazingly good shape given where everybody else is at. Ruby, do you have anything else to add to that?
No, not at this time, Brian, but I want you to know I have left an endowment too.
Okay.
When Morgan passed away, it was one of the things I wanted to do because of the meaningfulness of the church and how comforting it always has been. And it was an easy thing to do, actually. It wasn't that hard.
Yeah, no, thank you. And we had lots of people do memorials, right? So we have the funeral pall was Morgan, and then I know Nancy Fraser's here. Her mom is one of the vestments for our funeral set. So we have a lot of different, the Book of Remembrance, we've done some different things for Warren and Ben. So, we do have a lot of those kinds of gifts. So let's see, I'm going to ask you to unmute. If you want to unmute yourself, and we can open it up for any other business before the meeting. If anyone has anything they want to bring up or need to say, we can do that at this point.
I just want to say that I have left money to the church also in my will, but I'm not dying until we can sing all the I want you to sing at my funeral.
And I'll be watching for people now too.
Yeah.
If you see a blue BMW coming towards you, run.
Oh, really? Okay.
Exactly.
Lawyer.
No, unfortunately, it's your priest, but I also sell real estate. That's a work expense. Anybody else have any?
So Brian, can
Yep.
can you give us the name of the book again that you talked about?
Yeah, it's called, I'm going to send it out, but it's called The Wisdom Pattern
Okay, thank you.
by Richard Rohr. It's actually pretty good. And I see Dave, we have one of our candles is for Dave's dad. So that was donated in memory of him. Those 4 processional torches, one's for Joe McDonald, Warren Poor, Ben Sands, and then I think it was Morgan. Also, all the names are on the plaques at the church. So those are nice.
No.
Those have been nice memorials. So thank you for all of that. Is there any other business that needs to come before the meeting?
Not really. From my standpoint, Brian, you've made this church so positive compared to the past. I mean, it's really, it's good, it's fun, and it's also spiritual. And I thank you for that.
Thanks, Bob.
Agree.
Like I said, I'm glad to have a church again, and it's been nice to have Lauren part of it, and so it's been a lot of fun. Like we love Good Shepherd. It's a really special place. Everybody says that when you get there, but once you're part of the community, you're like, it is a special church. We have a lot of good folks. So really glad to be there. So we do have one order of business. Joe Field, what do you have for us?
Ready for him?
We are ready. Joe does the joke of the week on Wednesdays and a coffee hour.
Oh no.
And they're nice, clean church jokes, so it's very safe for everyone.
Dad jokes.
What do you call a baby? What do you call a baby monkey?
What do you call a baby monkey?
Yes.
What do you call a baby monkey? Anybody know?
Chimp.
Right here.
I don't know. What is it, Joe?
A chip off the old block. Chimp.
Oh.
Okay.
Rim shot.
So you can come every Wednesday night at 7. Joe opens it up with a joke.
And I just put that joke officially in the minutes here.
Okay, good. Yes, well, thank you everybody for coming tonight. It's
Yes,
really good
thank
to see
you.
everybody. Dave, it's good. Dave, I talked to Jean Hershey this week. Gave her a call over at Edgewood just to say hello. I know she's kind of secluded these days.
She called me yesterday to tell
She
me
is
how
a trooper.
thrilled she was that you had called her.
She is a
That's great.
trooper, and she is.
But did she tell you how funny it was? Because I said to her, "Oh, I talked to Dave recently." She thought I was talking about her husband.
Yeah.
He's dead.
Oh,
She's like, "You talked to my husband?" I'm like, "No, Dave Heron." I was like,
Wow.
Thanks for letting me know that. That's good.
you know what report we forgot? Looking at Nancy's Fraser's iPad, we need to put the regathering committee in the report. So we'll make an amendment.
Oh, right, okay.
And put in, we have a team for our regathering that makes some decisions about, should we move forward, pull back, what should we do? This week, the office went a little more virtual. So I'm having Carolyn work from home Monday and Wednesday, and then she'll come on site on Friday, and no one will be in the building. She's had a couple of COVID scares. We had one last week. So I think it's just better to keep separate our work weeks. So I go in certain days, Jane's on a different day, and then Carolyn can come in on Fridays, and we won't have anyone come in while she's there. This way we're protecting our employees until the surge starts going down a little bit. We want to be really careful.
Right.
Jane, do you have anything else to add?
I think we're good.
Well, thanks it's really nice seeing everybody. Like, I hate to end the meeting because it's nice seeing everyone's faces that I haven't seen in a while. Judy Royce made it to the meeting. That's good. And I see Sean and Karen Ward are both listening on. So thank you, everybody. So why don't we end? We'll have Pete. Pete, you want to do a closing prayer?
Sure. I'm going to read something that you may have heard from well, let's just say you may have heard this before, and it's pieces of a poem. When day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we find the light in this never-ending shade? The loss we carry, a sea must wade. This is parts of it. And yet the dawn is ours. Before we knew it, somehow we do it. Somehow we've weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished. When the day comes, we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it. For there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it.
You know that one from 2 weeks ago, yep.
Amanda.
Amanda Gorman, yep.
Thank you, Pete.
Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you.
So do we have a motion to adjourn this meeting until January 30th, 2022?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed?
Nope.
Well, thanks, everyone. I'm going to hang out for a little bit. So if you're not taken right off, we'll chat for a few minutes. And those of you who are ready to go, thank you for coming. It was a very
Well done.
excellent and efficient meeting, and I will stop the recording.